What I want to say to you is that I think the opportunity, paradoxically, lies in, yes, outperforming the competition, but to dramatically outbehave your competition. And that takes bringing your humanity to work every single day. The secret to outbehaving, however, is not a training program. It's not a project. It's not something you do once. It is culture. And culture is a self-reinforcing system. And it's driven by those service values that you've created on those cards. But it's executed via service standards daily by every single person who works with you. And it is delivered, very importantly, by customer-centric people. People who are kind and humane and decent and show up to work with those values every day in order to serve the best interest of their customers and their peers. Malcolm Gladwell likes to talk about the best and the brightest. And he talks about Enron as having the best and the brightest, but the most toxic culture ever. And there's a lot of brands out there who hire the best and the brightest, but who have really toxic cultures that don't really serve anyone but the individuals who will come as the best and the brightest. We like to say the best and the nicest. You need to be high performance and you need to be kind. You need to be a neurosurgeon at what you do to have credibility with consumers these days. But you also need to be trustworthy. You need to be caring. And that is very hard to do, but that is the differentiator for Zappos, for the Apple stores, for Nordstrom people, and for Ritz-Carlton people. You can replicate everything that those brands do. In fact, a lot of the product they sell is a commodity. But you cannot replicate the behaviors of those wonderful human beings. And by the way, none of them are perfect. All you're going to do is dramatically increase the probability that a client will get an extraordinary customer experience when they engage with one of you or your people. You're going to dramatically decrease the probability that they're going to get a lousy experience. But when they do, and it'll be very, very few times, you're going to dramatically increase the probability that the recovery will be an extraordinary customer experience for those clients. And that's all we can do because we're highly imperfect human beings. But we can dramatically outbehave. It takes a culture, and I won't go through this in detail, but what it takes is customer-centric people with great service values, which you've already created. And now you have to take those values and you have to live those values daily with the service standards, how you create an experience at the dealership for your customers and for each other. And then you have to educate people continuously because it's a never-ending project. And then you have to measure that. We measured recently that we were able to bring the customer retention rate of a client that implemented a cultural project from 23% to 40%. That's tens of millions of dollars by being nice and being kind. You also may need to redesign your compensation because there's a lot of compensation out there that's toxic, that prevents people from living the values and serving the best interests of the customers. And then you need to celebrate people because they need recognition and appreciation the way we all do when we walk in the door of our home. We need that at work as well. And then there's the daily rituals. The daily rituals are the way that you reinforce culture daily, whether it's a nice message, whether it's something like the daily lineup that you see at the Ritz-Carlton. I witnessed the daily lineup at the Ritz-Carlton at 3 different hotels recently. And the passion that those cleaning staff in Laguna Niguel, when it was done in Spanish, had for the brand was obvious. These were not highly educated people. They were not highly skilled people, but they were inspired human beings. And I urge you to do that in your dealerships every day. The other thing that's really important about being nice and having a great culture and outbehaving is that you can eminently measure it. You can measure it in customer retention. You can measure it in customer recovery. You can measure it in customer referrals. You can measure it in many, many different ways. Recently, we ran a survey with the VIP customers of a brand after we had what we call an intervention. And we were able to reduce the number of VIP clients who reported that they did not buy because they had a bad experience with a human being by 2/3. That was a dramatic shift. And it's in some ways hard, but it's also easy to make. And it's also easy to measure. We all love sports, and we go and watch sports and passionately look at how the Yankees and everybody's doing. Well, we need to do that for what we do every day. What we live every day is a sport. It's called the sport of life, the sport of humanity. And you need to have those metrics daily for your people and measure how you're going and how you're doing, not only in terms of outperforming, but in outbehaving.